Call meeting to order. Shelley, can you do roll call, please?
Present.
Present.
Here.
Oh, there he is. Here.
Here. Thank you, Shelley. Shelley, can you lead us in the invocation, please? Jesse, can you?
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Our first item is a public hearing on our Globe Municipal Property Corporation, and I'll turn over that public hearing to Vice Mayor Stapleton, who's the president of that board.
Thank you, Mayor. I open the public meeting, and before I get started, Shelley, would you mind giving a brief description of this corporation, please?
Yes, sir, Vice Mayor.
Thank
This is typical of municipalities, a corporation that would allow financing of property. And we are a corporation, so we're required through the bylaws to have an annual meeting each year, which that's what this is, and elect new officers for a term of a year. So that's what we'll be doing tonight. Currently, Vice Mayor Stapleton is the president. You all are directors of the board, on the board of the corporation, but Vice Mayor Stapleton is the president. Councilman Rios is vice president, and a former Councilwoman Charlene Giles was secretary and treasurer. So we'll have to re-elect each of those offices.
Great, thank you. Okay, so we need to nominate president or renominate.
Vice Mayor, I nominate you to serve on another term year on this board.
Thank you, appreciate it. And I would like to nominate myself, Councilman Rios, to continue as my VP.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Mayor. I accept.
I'll second.
Second. And then for my secretary and treasurer, I would like to nominate Councilman Pastor, if you're interested.
I'm interested. Thank you, sir.
I will second that.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any nay? None? Motion passes, and that closes the public. Back to you, Mayor.
Thank you. The second public hearing is a consideration of ordinance 872, rezoning case number Z-21-01, a request to rezone the property located at 510 Lebanon Road in Globe, aka Assessor Parcel Numbers 102-13-028 West and 102-13-131B from county designation R1 D10 single family and R3 D3 multifamily zoning district to the city's R1 6 single family residential zoning district.
Residential zoning district. Residential zoning district. Residential zoning district.
So we have Dana scheduled for staff presentation? He's on, okay. You're on, Dana. You're muted.
I just muted myself. Thank you very much, Mayor, council members. If you mind, I'm going to share my screen here. Let me make sure I get the correct screen share. Okay, can everybody see that presentation?
Yes.
Very good. Thanks again, Mayor, council members. This is a request to rezone the 26 acres of property that was annexed around this time last year by this council. Before we get started, I just want to take you through a quick reminder of the procedures required to rezone land, just so you're familiar, it's on top of your mind. So land can be rezoned in two different ways within the city. Either the city would initiate a rezoning request, either on city land or public property or private property, or a private property owner can request their property be rezoned. So, which is the case that we're looking at today. Though this is a unique scenario in that it's land that was annexed. And obviously once land is annexed into a municipality, there would not be zoning applicable, with exception to the county zoning designation that applied to the property prior to that annexation. So a statute in our ordinance requires that the city adopt a municipal zoning designation for the property within 6 months of the annexation. Obviously, we're well outside of that 6 months, but here we are. There is no consequence to that. We're just fulfilling that requirement right now, or with this discussion this evening. Then staff reviews an application for compliance with the general plan and other city adopted plans and policies to ensure alignment with the city goals. Once we find that the plan or the request, the proposal does meet those merits, we then notify the neighbors to hold a citizen review meeting, which in this case, in this item tonight, was held back on March 31st there in the city council chambers. And we did have a little turnout, which I'll get to at the end of the presentation. After we hold that citizen review meeting, we're open to bring an ordinance forward to the Planning and Zoning Commission to make a recommendation to council. Those actions require public notification by mailing all the property owners within 300 feet, by posting signs on the property, and also by placing an advertisement in the newspaper, legal ads. And that was accomplished. Planning and Zoning Commission held their public hearing last Wednesday, May 5th. And then ultimately, rezoning's changed by council adopting an ordinance to make that change, which you have in your packet this evening. So with that, hop right into the property location and the details. There are a total of 3 contiguous parcels that are owned by the applicant and part of this, part of a future development potentially. The parcel to the northeast of the site, shown here with a red border, has been in the city's jurisdiction for some time and is zoned R16. That's residential, single family, 6,000 square foot lot minimums is what that R16 acronym stands for. As well as this, the one north parcel of this property is zoned R16, but as well the entire area to the north there you see in the bright yellow is also R16 zoning. So this proposal is somewhat consistent with what's going on directly to the north of the property. The Globe Community Center is within walking distance to the site and is an attractive amenity to the residents in this area and would be to a future development at this site. This request is to rezone the property labeled as site, shown here with the black boundary, to the R16 single family zoning district. The majority of the site is currently zoned in the county as R1-D10, or basically it's R110. So residential single family, 10,000 square foot lot minimums. And the area shown with the green boundary there that splits a lot of these parcels along Ice House Road as well as the applicant's parcel is zoned R3 for multiple family residential in the county. Generally, the area south of the site is zoned R1D10 in the county, and the existing lots vary in size from around 6,000 square feet up to a couple acres. The county properties have limited infrastructure, and I do not believe they are currently served by a sewer. However, obviously, one day if a sewer becomes available in this area, that could be an opportunity for the existing residents. Should the council take action to rezone this property, the owners may then submit for a plat to be approved or reviewed through Planning and Zoning Commission with a recommendation to council. And that would include the infrastructure design and proposed lotting plan and so forth that would apply to the property. After the city departments and the county review the plans, the plat would then go to the Planning and Zoning Commission for review and recommendation to the city council. So just to be clear, today or this evening, you're only considering rezoning that property to R16 to allow a design for the property to move forward. For the sake of this discussion, the applicant has provided this initial concept plan showing 85 lots. This conceptual subdivision design is not part of your consideration to rezone the property this evening. There is considerable design and reviews that need to occur prior to bringing a plat forward to council's consideration. And as I mentioned, until it's zoned, the applicant typically wouldn't be comfortable bringing anything forward. This subdivision concept is designed to take advantage of mass grading that occurred on the site by a prior owner. The lots are clustered in the graded area, and this particular plan preserves the large open space and wash to the south as a natural area amenity to the development. The R16 zoning district could allow from 5 to 6 dwellings per acre, though that would be very difficult to achieve on this site given the topographic constraints. The overall density of this plan is 3 dwelling units per acre, where the existing county R1D10 zoning district would allow up to 4 dwelling units to the acre. There are 2 points of ingress and egress shown, as you see there. Direct access would be from Ice House Canyon Road. And then there's a secondary or emergency access that extends north through what is city property currently. During the public outreach, the citizen review process, the primary concern of nearby residents was the speeding, or is the speeding of traffic on Ice House Canyon Road. The city received around 8 or so traffic comments, and 1 resident expressed interest for the property to be developed with larger lots and homes similar in character to the existing homes to the south. 3 neighbors did speak at the Planning and Zoning Commission's public hearing last week. No one has expressed opposition to the rezoning, but they have been very adamant in their concerns of the traffic on Ice House Road. And we know that that's something that we need to work with the county moving forward. That is a county road at this time. So that'll be a part of a discussion as we get into future plat reviews and so forth. All right. The proposed R16 single-family zoning district complies with the city's general plan land use designations for this area. The rezoning of the property also meets the goals to remove obstacles for new development, to improve the city's available housing stock with new construction, and also to fulfill the current demand for housing in Globe. The Planning and Zoning Commission unanimously recommend the council approve this request. So, Mayor, council members, at this time, I'm happy to respond to your questions. And then when complete with a Q&A with myself or the applicant, Mayor, you're welcome to strike your gavel to open the public hearing to receive public testimony. Thank you.
Any questions or comments for Dana? Council? We have the owner here also, if there's any questions for the owner. It appears we have none, Dana, at this point. So we're going to go ahead and open the public hearing for public comment. Do we have anybody in the public that has any comment on this rezoning ordinance 872? So, none on request on. We'll close the hearing. We'll go to item A, and that is consideration of the Planning and Zoning Commission's recommendation to approve ordinance number 872, a request to rezone the property at 510 Lebanon Road in Globe from county designation R1 D10 single family to R3 D3 multifamily zoning district to the City of Globe designation of R16 single family residential zoning district. And Shelley, can you read ordinance number 872, please?
Mr. Mayor. Ordinance number 872, an ordinance of the Mayor and Council of the City of Globe, County of Gila, State of Arizona, amending the zoning ordinance of the city by amending the City of Globe zoning map to apply municipal zoning designation for the land annexed with ordinance number 862 from the Gila County R1 D10 and R3 D3 residential zoning districts to Globe's R16 single family residential zoning district for Gila County Assessor parcel numbers 102-13028W and 102-13031B, located in the City of Globe, County of Gila, State of Arizona. Council, pleased with that reading?
Yes.
Yes.
Mayor, I would move to approve ordinance number 872 as read.
We have a motion and a second for approval of ordinance 872. Is there any further discussion by council? Call for the question. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay? Any abstaining? Motion passed. Congratulations. So we'll go to summary of current events, and we'll start with council. Fernando, we'll start with you.
Well, I'd like to welcome the newest member of our family. My son Brandon got married on Friday night to Kimberly Cuccinello, and it was a great event, and everybody got along. And it was, I was the officiant, so as soon as I was done with the ceremony, I was like, whew, have fun. So I wish them the best in their future together. So, and that's it, Mayor.
Great. Congratulations.
Thank
Ready?
you.
Thank you, Mayor. Congratulations, Fernando.
Thank you.
I attended the ribbon cutting ceremony today for the Advocacy Center that our police chief is going to talk about later today in this meeting. But, I just want to give a great shout out and kudos to all the volunteers that put this center together, the donations, just seeing the people that were there that are from the community, that are other in their professional businesses, really don't have anything to do with the advocacy, but they are involved. They are members. They're board members, and they're engaged. And this is a huge win for this city and this region. So I want to congratulate Chief Walters. It was outstanding. There was a great ribbon cutting ceremony, and the facility, I didn't see it all, but I'm going to. There was just so many people there. But I think the public really needs to know and appreciate, when we talk about, quality of life, this is truly one of those aspects of quality of life for this region and for our community. And I truly hope that this advocacy center stays in good form and well represented and well financed, because we need this for decades. So thank you, Chief. Appreciate it. Good. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, good. Mike?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I just want to give the Public Works Department a pat on the back. I was out walking with Bella this weekend, and I walked through the City of Globe, the main street, and all the garbage cans were empty and plenty of room in them. The streets were clean. I was really amazed at how nice our downtown area looked. And I thought to myself, people coming into town today are really going to appreciate what they see. So if somebody would relay to Public Works Department, they did an excellent job this week, and it's actually still pretty clean even today. So keep up the good work, guys.
Jesse?
I also want to thank Public Works, not only downtown and all the work that they do, but that sidewalk, getting that sidewalk finished on East Mesquite, it looks absolutely amazing. I also want to thank staff for attending the strategic action planning meeting. I thought that was a great takeaway. And those of you that don't know, we put together a 5-year action plan for strategic action plan for the city, and the amount of wins that the city has is absolutely astounding. Even during COVID, it's amazing to see what staff has been doing. So again, I want to thank staff, and Paul, thank you for that. And that's all I have, Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you, District. Mike?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. I just have a few things. First of all, I'd like to give a shout out to Officer Jeremy Cochran. Pass this on to him. He was able to, from the hospital back to Haiti, stepped up to the, was able to back to let him know as a council appreciate his efforts. Good cop. Does a lot of other things. That caught my eye. So thank you. And then again, shout out to Public Works. They're always out and about. Every morning, actually. 5 o'clock in the morning. They're out every morning. Keeping downtown clean. Trash cans, watering plants, everything. I know John's not in the office. And that's going to give a fire update, but
Yeah, well, we have District
Okay.
Ranger that's going to do that, man.
excellent.
You bet.
That's all I have.
Thank you, Mike. Yeah, I also want to thank our fire department and all the local fire departments and fire departments all over the state that came in to help us with the Copper Canyon fire. And we'll get an update. We got District Ranger Adam Bromley in the audience, and he'll give us the update as to where it stands now. I also attended the Copper Hills Advocacy Center that was open today, and I echo what Freddie said. It's amazing, and just to be able to go inside and see the facility and how it's set up, where it's going to be a comfortable place where people of domestic violence and other can go and feel comfortable in that place. So it's a big, huge win for the community, and not only our community, but I think the surrounding communities from Safford to Superior to Payson, everywhere. So good job. I want to recognize Armida Bittner. She's a longtime resident of Globe. Her husband was councilman for I don't know how many years. But she was a former Gila County superintendent. And on May 6th, she was one of 4 women that were inducted by the 2021 Arizona Women's Hall of Fame. And the explanation for the award or to induction is the Arizona Women's Hall of Fame pays tribute to the remarkable women whose commitment and contributions have played a significant role in the development and the quality of life in Arizona. And she's always been pro-education, an amazing lady, and it's good to see that she was inducted in there. It's a great honor for her, but a great honor for our community also. And that's all I have.
Mr. Mayor, members of council, thank you. A couple things. Just wanted to let everybody know that we are transitioned to opening up our lobby in the city hall, and library's going Saturday. We're still working on Besh, but it's been pretty good. We have some plexiglass up, and people can now come in and talk directly to the water office and the courts, magistrate courts, and we're still doing our masking up when we're meeting the public, and you have to mask to get into a city facility, but everybody's enjoying that change, and it's going well, no issues. We do have a road closure that I wanted to share, that we put a PSA out, and sorry for the inconvenience, but Cactus Asphalt will be grading East-South Street from East Maple Street to Round Mountain Park in preparation for the chip seal. A portion of East-South Street will be closed to all traffic from 6 a.m. Thursday, May 13th through 6 p.m. Friday, May 14th, and then again from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. on Wednesday, May 19th. I think that's the PSA is on our website. Maybe if you're trying to track this activity. The good news is we're putting a dust coating on the road going up to Round Mountain Park, and that'll make that a lot nicer and a lot better to walk, run, or drive. I was walking by this afternoon, and they're making great progress on the mural up on the side of the United Jewelry Building right there by the courthouse. Very beautiful work. They got ladders, got a lift, and they're going at it. They said one more day, and I hear we had a really great First Friday last week. I think there was no parking available, which is a double-edged sword, but that's a good sign. And let's see here, live DJ at the Cobra Valley Center for the Arts. Restaurants are full. More and more people coming, visiting, shopping, and so we'd like to see our First Fridays get. That's a good. Here, I believe that's all I have for you, Mayor, members of council. Thank you.
Thank you. We go to our first community call to the public. Shelley, do we have any speaker cards or anybody on phone or?
Yes, I do, Mr.
Computer.
Mayor. I have an email from Tracy Quick, and she said, "Good evening, all. As someone observing this evening's meeting, one thing jumps out at me. I see nothing but men. I understand that tonight's meeting starts and maybe finishes the process of replacing Councilwoman Giles. There is one woman that has put her name forward as that person. Carmen Casillas has experience and cares very much about the city. A 100% male council is unacceptable. Vote for a wee bit of diversity, please. Thank you." That's all I have,
That's
Mayor.
all. Thank you, Shelley. I have a request from council, if you're good with it. We have a late agenda item that was put on the agenda, and that was a fire update by District Ranger Adam Bromley. If we can move it up prior to the presentations, if we're good with that. I know he's a busy man, and get him back out there. So Adam, we'll bring you up. Give us an update on the Copper Creek fire, please.
Assuming green is on. Good evening, everyone. Thanks for inviting me down here. So, yeah, we did have the Copper Canyon fire. It was initially reported about 11:45 on Friday morning, I guess. It was originally a state jurisdiction fire. It started on private land off of San Carlos Drive, and very quickly moved out of the houses and across into the desert and onto the Tonto National Forest. It was very active fire, pretty much all day Friday and well into the night. Sort of unusual for this time of year. We had very, very, very low fuel moistures and high winds that day, which drove fire behavior to something that you would normally see in June and not May. We used quite a variety of aircraft on that first day. A lot of very large air tankers, and single engine air tankers. No structures were lost. We did complete one small burnout operation on the fire to secure the north end, and that would have been on Saturday evening. We also transitioned on Saturday evening to a Type 3 team, the Central West Zone team, which is hosted out of the Phoenix Interagency Dispatch Center. And so they are still here through today. They will actually be transitioning back to local resources to take command of the fire tomorrow morning. Let's see here. What else on the list? It was a joint state federal fire, so we are sharing costs on that. We did share resources across all jurisdictions there. Good news, Highway 60 did reopen yesterday. For anybody that didn't already know that, it was impacted pretty heavily on Friday afternoon. We had to close the highway around 2:30 on Friday afternoon, which did impact Mother's Day travels for many folks headed back and forth to Sholo, Pine Top, Lakeside. We did have no injuries, which was good. We did have one civilian transport this afternoon, actually, unrelated to the fire, but our on-scene EMTs did transport an individual having some medical issues on the side of the highway, so that was good. As far as anything not as directly associated with Copper Canyon fire, did want to touch on our regional outlook for coming fire season here. We are in drought. We are in exceptional drought in a very large portion of southern Gila County. Pretty much the vast majority of Arizona and New Mexico and a large portion of the western U.S. is all in drought. So there are already currently several large incidents located across the region. Those are drawing resources. So as we move further into fire season here in the local area, it may be proved to be harder and harder to get the resources necessary, much like we experienced last year towards August. As far as locally, we are going to be entering into fire restrictions here on the 14th. Those will be stage 1 fire restrictions, so campfires and all that stuff will be kind of a no-go, and as well as target shooting on National Forest lands, and our cooperators, as BLM and state, have all entered in stage 1 restrictions as well on the same day. Other than that, one reminder would be for anybody interested, the Community Wildfire Protection Program for Southern Gila County has a meeting tomorrow that I encourage folks to attend. Unfortunately, I cannot because I got booked. That was one reminder I had. Did anybody have any questions? Any pressing?
Nando?
So my understanding is that we were going to let fires continue to burn as if they were natural. That didn't happen here. Is that because it wasn't caused by nature?
So generally, we try to suppress human-caused fires. Yes. We are attempting to move into the idea of living with fire. That's something that here in this desert Southwest especially, that we really do have to move toward as far as a way of thinking. On the Tano National Forest, we have what are called pods. So we went through several years ago and basically delineated areas where we said we need to put it out here and we need to let it do its thing in other places. This fire, because it's within the wildland urban interface, falls within a pod that says that we're here to suppress it. And that's primarily for life and property. Does that answer your question? Okay.
Adam, I got a couple of questions. Did a lot of guardrail get destroyed, and how did our ranches up in that area fare with it?
So the initial push from the fire on Friday did destroy quite a bit of guardrail. Pretty much everything from essentially from the Johnson Ranch and the forest boundary north about 3 to 4 miles is mostly destroyed. As far as guardrails go, there was the one section of guardrail that we did burn off of. We were able to pre-treat before they did a burn operation, so those guardrails are still intact. All the fire activity on Friday, though, that was wind driven, did destroy guardrails. As far as our ranchers go, that only affected one allotment on the Tano. It's the Scarborough allotment, which is grazing is permitted to Charlie Johnson Ranch on that allotment. Between the Griffin fire from last year and this fire from this year, approximately 2/3 of his allotment has been burned at this point, and we'll be working with him to identify some possible alternatives. We may be able to offer other areas of the forest, not here on the Globe Ranger District because I don't have any vacant allotments, but perhaps other vacant allotments across the Tano, although there are. That may be one option. Reducing herd numbers could be another option, but we'll be working with Mr. Johnson to identify some options and what he thinks.
The question is just because of the drought and the situation we're in now, where we're seeing more severe and bigger fires. Are you guys more apt to be more about firefighter safety than to try and be so aggressive where we get our firefighters into bad situations?
Yes, absolutely. So our national view this year is firefighter and public safety first. So we've become moving towards what we call a life first agency. The days of putting 19-year-old hotshots into some very, very compromising positions are hopefully behind us. We want to engage our folks where they're going to have the best opportunity for success. We're moving into a risk-based decision-making process. basically is the juice worth the squeeze? Kind of where we're at. It's we had this discussion. A great example of that would have been on Saturday. We were discussing doing a small burnout operation, clean up the northern end of the fire, and box it in and tie it in with the Griffin fire from last year, so it wouldn't move. Two options were to go direct with a couple of hotshot crews in some pretty rugged country, or to go ahead and do a small burnout, and we opted to do the burnout as a much safer option rather than risking putting a bunch of folks into a place that is not the safest.
You recommend that we start dialogue and maybe if our community become a Firewise community designated area to educate people in our area, I guess? It would take the whole community, not just the city of Globe.
Yes, I would highly encourage the community as a whole to really start engaging in Firewise dialogue. This is something that we're going to continue to live with. We are in drought, so I don't see that changing drastically here in the near future, but the amount of wild and urban interface that we are experiencing is increasing, especially here in Arizona as well as here within the local community. The example of this proposed subdivision is increase in wild and urban interface, and it's something that's going to be very important, I think, to think about going into the future, especially from our standpoint, because it seems to me pretty much no matter where it starts, it's my folks are usually involved around here. So for them to be able to safely engage and try to protect those homes is.
Any other questions? Thank you very much, Adam, for coming here and updating us, and thank all those firefighters out there also, and be safe.
Thank you.
Absolutely. And also, thanks to the Globe PD and Sheriff's Department, everybody was really great about, I saw Globe folks out there and everything, helping us shut down the highway on Friday, so that was a lot.
Thank you.
Have a good
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, we have special presentations. And first, we have item A, 52nd Annual Professional Municipal Clerks Week, May 2nd to May 8th, 2021. So we have a proclamation here to recognize city clerks across the state. And I'll read that proclamation. 52nd Annual Professional Municipal Clerks Week, May 2nd, May 8th through May 8th, 2021. Whereas the office of the professional municipal clerk, a time-honored and vital part of local government, exists throughout the world, and whereas the office of the professional municipal clerk is the oldest among public servants, and whereas the office of the professional municipal clerk provides a professional link between the citizens, the local governing bodies, and agencies of government at other levels, and whereas professional municipal clerks have pledged to be ever mindful of their neutrality and impartiality, rendering equal service to all. Whereas the professional municipal clerks serve as the information center on functions of local government and community. Whereas professional municipal clerks continue to strive to improve the administration of the affairs of the office of the professional municipal clerk through participation in education programs, seminars, workshops, and the annual meetings of their state, provincial, county, and international professional organization. Whereas it is most appropriate that we recognize the accomplishments of the office of the professional municipal clerk. Now therefore, I, Algameros, Mayor Globe, do recognize the week of May 2nd through May 8th, 2021 as Professional Municipal Clerks Week, and further extend appreciation to our professional municipal clerk, Shelley Salazar, and to all professional municipal clerks for the vital services they perform and their exemplary dedication to the communities they represent. Dated 11th day of May 2021.
You forgot babysitting city council on there.
That's the hardest part. Shelley, you are you're the rock. You keep us together here, and we know all the hats you wear and all the responsibilities you have, and we really appreciate everything you do. You have the personality and that drive to really represent our city well. Thank you. Item B, the police department will present the grand opening of the Copper Hills Advocacy Office. Chief Walters.
Good evening, Mayor. Good evening, Council. Today was a great day for our community. We talked about it a number of times in different council meetings concerning the Family Advocacy Center that we've been working on for the last couple of years. It came to full fruition today. We were very fortunate in the partnerships that we've had over the last couple of years, and today we had the grand opening. It was extremely well attended, and I would like to say it was because of my public speaking ability, but I really think it was due to Officer Verdugo's carne asada ability. This center means a lot, not only to the community of Globe, but the greater southern Gila County and all of Gila County region, to include some outlying agencies such as Superior and potentially Thatcher and Safford. This is where we actually put the focus in on the victims of crime to provide them a pathway to get the help that they need, for us to be able to collect the evidence and do proper interviews without re-victimizing the victims during a very tragic incident. So this has been extremely successful. We've been using it now kind of at a part-time basis in the beginning, and over the last year we've serviced over 100 people at that center without even being fully operational yet. So as we move forward, we expect it to expand and to grow, but it's hugely beneficial to the most vulnerable among us. And I think it's incredibly important that that focus has really come to the highlight within the region. A couple of people that we really outlined today that we wanted to kind of celebrate. We gave out a few awards today. The first award went to Jessica Nicely of Winged Hope. I've actually had the pleasure of working with Jessica in developing the Chandler Advocacy Center prior to coming to Globe. She is the CEO of Winged Hope, which is a foundation leading in the development and support of family advocacy centers throughout the state, as well as providing direct services to victims. Jessica helped walk us through the process of developing and converting our current building into a fully functioning family advocacy center. Jessica also generously donated much needed furnishing and decor for the Advocacy Center. She also facilitated the donation of much needed medical equipment there. So, you know, prior to this facility opening, if we had a victim of certain types of crime, we would have to arrange to take them and transport them down into the valley, which is unfair to them. And it really limits our abilities. We've had some victims of crime actually refuse to go because of the journey itself. So this is hugely beneficial to us. Another award went to Trevor Humphreys, who is the president of the Arizona Child and Family Advocacy Network. Trevor was a key in assisting us in development of our advocacy center. He worked with us well over the 2 years, helping us gain access to policies, grants, and more. He was able to purchase thousands of dollars of much needed medical equipment for the examination room and donated it to us. And last but not least, Neil Jensen, the CEO of the Cobra Valley Medical Center. He has been just a commanding partner for us ever since I've been here. It started before my tenure started, and it has just absolutely grown since then. His focus and his generosity and his support has made this project truly successful. And then other members within the community, so all of you are aware, like Dale from Keno Floors. That organization has donated labor and materials for us on the remodel jobs. We have members like Debbie Cox from our community, Claudia Domelin and Jess Bollinger, who sit our board. And then our ongoing partnership with Shelley Sorkham Spence from Child Help has been just a blessing for the community. So all in all, and if you were fortunate enough to attend today, you got to see the outpouring support from the community, but the vast majority of them have really dug in and helped us create what we did. But more importantly, our members, not just the PD members, but our members from the city, have donated time to come down, and most of the remodel that, Mayor, that you saw today, the paint job and stuff, it was personnel from the city that came down and painted and did some of the remodel. So this was a community effort. It was kind of led by us. More importantly, it was led by Detective Sergeant Steve Williams. But all in all, they did a phenomenal job, and I think it's going to be hugely beneficial to us as a community as we move forward. Any questions? That's the short version. It was much longer earlier today.
We heard it.
For those members that were unable to attend today, if you would like to get with me, I will give you a personal tour of the center at your convenience sometime in the next week or two, and that way we can walk you through it. And like the mayor said, until you do and kind of understand what it is that they do, you don't really have a good grasp of it, not having worked in that environment or anything. So please just let me know.
Ready, go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor. So today was obviously the ribbon cutting ceremony, but when does the center actually open for?
We've
all
been
the
open
citizens?
for a while, Councilman Rios, but it's fully open now with the full ability for the medical examinations that are needed in certain cases. We've been doing forensic interviews in there for the last couple of years. It's really expanded. We have partnered. One of the things I didn't mention, in the last couple of months, I started a Chiefs Association. It's a law enforcement group. And it's not just law enforcement. The county attorney's part of it. And we've reached out to everybody in the region. This is not just something within our community, because realistically, when you look at our service model, we service Southern Gila County because we are the shopping mecca for Southern Gila County. And it behooves us to partner with Hayden, Winkleman, Superior, Miami, obviously, the county, and then now Payson PD will be coming down. Our partners at the San Carlos Tribal Police are partnered, and they're part of the Chiefs Association, and then members from neighboring counties, from Safford and Thatcher, both are involved. So we're trying to, this is not about who owns it, who started it. This is about us providing something for the victims within our region to better serve them. And so that's kind of the attitude everybody's taking on it. But that partnership and that association with all those other law enforcement professionals has really helped move the needle on this, and will continue to help us move the needle on other areas.
Good, thank you.
Thank you, Chief, and thank your staff for all the work they did to make this happen.
Thank you. Thank you, sir.
Next, we go to consent calendar. Matters listed under the consent calendar are considered to be routine and will be enacted by one motion and one vote. Public hearing items are designated with an asterisk. Prior to consideration of the consent agenda, the mayor will ask whether any member of the public wishes to remove a public hearing item for separate consideration. Members of the council and/or staff may remove any item for separate consideration. Item A, consideration of waiver of Section 2-4-10A prior discussion rule to allow action on the balance of the consent agenda. Accounts payable, $265,412.45. Consideration of approval of council minutes. Consideration of the April 13, 2021 council summary minutes. Consideration of agreements and purchases less than $25,000. Consideration to approve the fiscal year 2020-2021 third quarter distribution of bed tax fund in the amount of $5,233.76 to Gila County Historic Society from account number 10-51-51925 General Fund Community Organizations Bed Tax. And consideration of the Historic Preservation Advisory Commission recommendations to approve the proposed facade renovation of the building owned by Mike Wingerski at 290 North Broad Street, formerly Bacon's Boots and Saddles. Do we have anybody from the public, the staff, or the council would like to remove any of these items separately?
Mr. Mayor, if there are no other questions or comments, I motion we accept the consent agenda as read.
Second?
We have a motion and a second for approval of the consent agenda. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay. Any abstaining? Motion passed. We have no new business, so we'll go to action items. So item A is discussion and consideration of resolution number 1834, which would designate the City of Globe Finance Director, Jeannie Seagrow, as CFO on behalf of the City of Globe to submit the annual expenditure limitation report for fiscal year 2022 to the Auditor General. Kelly, can you read Resolution 1834, please?
Mr. Mayor. Resolution number 1834, a resolution of the City of Globe, Arizona, excuse me, Mr. Mayor, a resolution of the City of Globe, Arizona, and find the original resolution, the title messed up on the agenda. Mr. Mayor, resolution number 1834, a resolution of the City of Globe, Arizona, Mayor and Common Council designating the Chief Fiscal Officer for officially submitting the fiscal year 2022 expenditure limitation report to the Arizona Auditor General. Is council pleased with that reading?
Yes.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. This is a resolution that the Auditor General's office requires every year for the city to designate the CFO to submit the 2022 budget. The annual expenditure limitation report is the submitting of the budget. Are there any questions?
Here's, there's no questions, Jeannie.
Okay, also, I don't see it on my staff report, but I am asking to waive the rule so that I can get this into the Auditor General's office on time.
That's an action item, though, on the action item. Yeah. Motion for approval.
So, Mr. Mayor, I would make a motion that we, let's see, designate Jeannie Segori as the Chief Financial Officer for City of Globe to officially submit the current year's annual expenditure limitation report, AELR, on the City of Globe's behalf.
Second.
Motion and second. Do we have any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay? Any abstaining? Motion passes. Next, we have discussion and possible approval of amendment number 5 to contract number 0019-0248 with the Pinal Gila Council for Senior Citizens to accept an additional $65,000 in COVID-19 funds for fiscal year 2020-2021 for PGCSC to disperse through home delivered meals. And I guess that's Jeannie too.
That's me also, yes. So PGCSC contacted the City of Globe and said they have received additional federal funds towards COVID costs for active adult centers, and they've allocated $65,000 to us. These funds are not, you can't roll them over into the next year, so that money would have to be spent by the end of June. And we've had several meetings and discussions with PGCSC, and what we thought looked to be the best option was that the city is going to go ahead and use the budgeted funds that we had for the Active Adult Center program to repave the parking lot, and then the additional $65,000 from PGCSC can go towards all of our expense to keep the Active Adult Center open, because basically this year it's all been COVID related. There was no congregates coming in anymore. Meals were given to them through the window, and then the Meals on Wheels program. So the entire budget year has been COVID related. So we're asking permission tonight to execute amendment number 5 and accept the additional revenue from PGCSC.
Mr. Mayor, I motion to approve amendment number 5 to contract 0019-0248 with the Pinal Gila Council for Senior Citizens, PGCSC, to accept an additional $65,000 in COVID-19 funds for fiscal year 2020-2021 from the PCGSC to be distributed through home delivery mills. And I believe we're going to waive the rule on this as well?
No, it's an action item.
Is it? Oh, okay.
We have motion and second for approval of amendment number 5. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay. Any abstaining? Motion passed.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jeannie.
Thank you, Jeannie.
Next, we have discussion and consideration to ratify the purchase agreement and to enter into escrow for the property located at 493 North Broad Street, where the city will be purchasing the property from Kenneth Brown for the amount of $65,000, provided the terms of the purchase agreement are met. Paul.
Mr. Mayor, members of council, we came across an opportunity to purchase what we commonly call the Silver King building on Broad Street. Had some meetings and got direction from council. And so we are currently in escrow to purchase that property for $65,000. We did want to ratify the actual direction or the approval of council to purchase that. And while this is been on the agenda before, it will actually be on the agenda again when we finally move the money and finalize the purchase. But tonight, we just would like council to vote to ratify the purchase agreement.
No other questions, comments? A motion to ratify the agreement and move forward.
Second.
We have motion and second for ratification of this agreement. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay. Any abstaining? Motion passed. So item D, we have consideration to nominate and possibly appoint one of the 4 applicants to fill the District 5 council member vacancy. And one, we have council will interview District 5 applicants Carmen Casillas, Mariano Gonzalez, Eric Mariscal, and Matthew Storm. Council then will conduct a selection process to nominate and possibly vote to appoint a council member to serve the remaining term of District 5 to the current election cycle. Paul, you want to explain that?
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, members of council, I'm gonna walk through this process. It's kind of lengthy, but it's what we've talked about before, and this is where we're at for tonight. From this process, this is suggested. Council can deviate from this if they like, but this is as we've talked where we're at. And so this is to fill the vacancy in Council District 5. We advertised and had the 4 members that have applied. The council's wishes are to hold interviews tonight. And the interviews would be each person individually coming up and doing that in order to separate them. So it's just common that we would have the draw numbers out. Where's the urn here? And there's numbers 1 through 4. The first person, whoever gets 1 gets the interview first, and the other 3 will wait in the conference room with Michelle, who's volunteered to go in and sit with them. We ask that they not use any phones or technology while waiting for their turn to interview. We'll interview the first person, then they'll be able to sit and watch, then pull the second person out, third person, and then the final person. The interviews themselves, each interview will consist of a 3-minute introduction that will allow the interviewee to share what they would like to share with council in that 3 minutes. And then each of you have the list of questions that were submitted by all the members of council. In talking about 4 people and 6 members of council and time and responses, the mayor had suggested 1 question per council member. And you can pick your top question. If you see somebody else's and you'd like to ask that, you're welcome. We'll go in order as the mayor calls them out, and that way, if your question gets taken, you can use another one. Whatever we do, though, what we do for the first one, we will need to do for the other 3. And Shelley and I will keep track of the order of the questions and make sure we don't duplicate that. Then at the very end, the mayor, you get a chance to ask if the applicant has any questions for the council. And it's always a common courtesy in an interview to allow them a chance to ask any questions. Once that's been, once the interview is completed, everybody will sit back down, and the process that we had talked about and that we're looking here, we move forward instead of having a nomination process. I think what everybody's here, they've taken time. I think the pleasure of the council and the mayor, you talked about this, about considering everyone as a nominated and eligible to be voted on by the council. And so all 4 members will move forward to being eligible to be selected by the council without going through a formal nomination process. We're going to do a paper ballot, and this is different than we've done before. And so you have paper in an envelope. And so once we start the balloting, then each council member will write down one name, put it in the envelope, fold it up, and pass it down to Shelley. The first applicant or interviewee that gets a majority of council, which would be 4 members, is considered the selected choice. And if everybody is in agreement with that, that selected choice will then be motioned and second and nominated formally. So the paper ballot isn't the formal legal authorizing them, but it's the process. We hope council can come to an agreement on one person, and then everybody will motion second and vote that person in. If there's not a majority on the first ballot, Shelley will look at that and say, we have a vote for this one, whatever the vote count is, and the top 2 applicants will then participate in the runoff ballot. And so council, again, take a piece of paper, put your name down, put it in the envelope, pass it. Shelley will look at it, and if we have a majority there, then we'll go from there. If there's a tie in the runoff, and then we come back, more discussion, maybe more questions, have the applicants, whatever council feels is necessary for them to come to an agreement in a majority as to who should be selected. And and then at that point, we'll just see how things go. But at the end of all that, if council is able to come to a selection through the balloting process, then we'll have motion second and the vote. And then 2 weeks from tonight, on the next meeting, what night is that meeting? On May 25th, that person will be will come back, be sworn in at the very beginning of the meeting, and they will take their seat and join council for the full agenda on the 25th. Any questions on that? And
So I know that we always ask the same initial questions, but based on their answers, we can ask follow-up questions.
Follow-up questions, and you don't have to do the same follow-up question, but if they trigger something and you want more information, that's customary to do a follow-up with one, but not necessarily with the other people. But the initial question should be the same. And that's tradition, not necessarily required, but that's tradition.
I just want to comment, we were given the opportunity to get all the applications and the resumes and their letters of intent early on last week, so we had the opportunity to review them all, so, which is a good thing too, as we move forward.
So no, and like I say, we're I think that this has gone well so far, and unless you have any more questions, I think we begin the process. You ready, Mayor?
We're ready.
Mayor, Council? Okay. Shelley, do you want to step down and let them come and pick a number? Not quite a hat. So.
Mm-hmm.
No. He said we met.
Okay, and then Matt, what number do you have? I can't see. 2. Okay, you've been by good eyes. I couldn't see that. Eric? Okay. Mariana? Okay. And Carmen?
First.
Okay, okay. Let's make sure, you gotta keep it, so, all right, so the three gentlemen want to join, Michelle in the,
Ladies first, Carmen.
And Carmen, we'll go up to the podium up there with a mic.
We're all going to ask one question from our.
Yeah, whatever question you want. We're going to allow the candidate to do a 3-minute opening statement, and then you can pick whatever question you submitted. I know some of you have submitted multiple questions, but you pick whichever one, because that'll be the same one.
Just one, that has to be the same.
Same one throughout
for
the-
each candidate. Yeah.
So Carmen, we'll give you 3 minutes for an opening statement.
Okay, great. Thank you so very much, Honorable Mayor and Council, for giving me this opportunity to come before you. All these individuals are excellent candidates, but I believe that I would be the perfect fit for this council, as I have served from 2006 to 2012, and not just service, and even when I wasn't on council, I am always involved in my community and always trying to help others, focusing on safety and well-being of individuals in the district. I fought for the drug dog, for the initial drug dog, which led to the arson dog. I had fought for starting to look for a new fire department, and we were having meetings, and then all of a sudden they just stopped. So I have been involved in trying to help move this city forward, being very progressive. And this time, I mean, just hearing everything that everyone has done makes me feel even more humbled to be before you, because I want to be a part of this, what is happening right now, what everyone is doing. And just one kudos to the mayor, especially I saw him Sunday with a weed eater out there. So when there are individuals that are that passionate about our city and about what's going on, I want to be a part of that. I do help. I worked with the hospitals for COVID, trying to get people over there. That was very a passionate issue for me. I called the emergency center, working with Carl in different areas. So I just don't have to be up there on the seat to be doing something for my community. I do it when I'm on the ground also. But I also believe that I can be a strong voice for the individuals of District 5. And I do know that our job is to be able to protect our individuals and our citizens, to give them a better quality of life. And that's what I will continue to do, what I have been doing, and that seems to be my focus. And so just really quickly, I would like to thank Charlene Giles for her service to District 5, because we can't please everybody. And I do know that she did work hard for our district. So I needed to recognize that. And I'm very humbled by Tracy's email. So that's what, and I believe I just got my concealed weapons permit. Scary, but that means that I can pass the background check and I can go sit in that seat immediately. So I'm ready to do the work. I'm a fighter, and I am just passionate about our city and the way things are going. Thank you. I think that was over 3 minutes. I could keep talking.
That's perfect. So on the questions, the process will be, we'll just do the same sequence every time. I'd like to start with Fernando right across to the end and end up with Mike with the last question. Mike, the Councilman's
that's
next
fine.
door.
Yeah.
So Fernando, you'd get the first question and we'll just come down the line every time.
Carmen, what is your vision for the future of Globe? Let me turn that on. What is your vision for the future of Globe?
My vision for the future of Globe is to continue seeing downtown grow. I mean, it's amazing right now what is going on. And it's bringing in tourism, and it's bringing in the traffic, and that's what we want to see, is to see our city grow, but also to keep it to where it's the hometown feeling. and also to work with our youth to bring in, to help bring in services for them. We have many that are, unfortunately, that are losing their lives, that are hooked on drugs, and we need to do something about that. We need to be able to lift them up and give them the help that is necessary. And I know this advocacy center is totally amazing. I was a DV advocate for 10 years, had my own little, I was CEO of my own little company with that. So things are moving forward. And so that's what I want to see, is that people are growing and we're out there helping our community and giving them what they need and supporting them in whatever their adversities or their needs are.
Thank you.
Ready for turn? Thank you, Mayor. Carmen, thank you for your interest. This is my question. To date, what do you think is the most beneficial achievement of this present council, and what could this council do better?
Right now, when I'm viewing everything and I'm looking around, I think the best thing that has happened with our city right now is that, and I'm not just saying this because I'm here, because if everyone knows me, I'm very blunt. But what I think is the best thing is who's service right now, who's sitting up there, because our city has grown. I have seen that. I have seen the numbers coming in. I have seen businesses starting to flourish. And so, and working with individuals and working with businesses to help them come out of this COVID. This pandemic that was such a horrible thing, and so many people suffered. But to see the work that came out of that and the growth, the immediate growth that is happening right now, I just give credit to everyone who sits here, because you are the ones who make the rules and moving everything forward. So that's the way I feel, and that's the way I look at it.
Follow up, is there anything that you feel that something that we could do better?
There's always something that we can do better. We just need to continue working with our individuals. COVID is still out there. We just need to make sure that, our people feel safe, that they know that they can come to you when they have an issue, our elderly, that they know that those doors are open, because I know sometimes, and what Paul was saying right now is now the doors are starting to open. So that could make a big difference also, because these individuals, these elderly people have felt so shut in and away from everything that has brought depression and everything. So I think by opening up everything, following CDC guidelines though, that I believe that that's going to help move things along and make things better, because when things start moving, then you start moving.
Thank you.
Carmen, I think you've answered some of the question I have, but maybe you can add on to it. With this being a temporary appointment, briefly explain your specialized skills, knowledge, or professional experiences that would contribute to your effectiveness while serving with this council to help them carry out their strategic initiatives.
I served as councilwoman from 2006 to 2012. I served as vice mayor from 2010 to 2012 under a very progressive mayor and in a very difficult situation. The economy was going downhill, and we did what we needed to do and what I felt we needed to do, because if I don't think that it's in the best interest for the people and the individuals, then because that's my passion, or kids, then I'm usually not for that. But everything that I felt that we did in that time, so in hard times, if we were able to make progress, that I know that now, as things are starting to flourish, that I would be able to even be more of an asset.
Thank you, Carmen. Mike?
Carmen, good evening. Thank you for
Good evening.
coming. My question is, what are your intentions if you get appointed to council? And if you do get appointed, plan on,
If I am appointed to council, yes, my plans are to run in the next election. And I believe even more wholeheartedly is because I have several connections. Even though I campaigned against Representative David Cook, he still works with me in sending me information on DV information, on stuff for our kids, for the Boys and Girls Club, for our Cobra Valley Youth Club. I have outreach to Congressman Tom O'Halloran. So I can bring a lot of things to the table. I can make things happen in a little bit quicker setting. Because I do have the outreach to our Secretary of State, Katie Hobbs. When it first came out that there was going to be money for rape kits, I was down there in her office knocking on the door saying, don't forget Globe. We have cases here. Do not forget Globe. But of course it was for Maricopa County. So whether I'm there or not, I continue to fight for our people. And what I believe in, and to make our community better and a safer place for everyone, quality of life.
Jesse, did you have a question?
I do. Carmen, why would it be important to you to question the status quo?
Why is it important for me to question the status quo? Because I did in the beginning. When I first served, we had an attorney that would not be present at most meetings. We never knew what was going to happen. We could never get any real information. And so this was money that the taxpayers were paying. And that was not right. So I did fight to get him removed. There was also a time when there was someone vying for a position in the city. I knew his history, I knew his background. Believe me, and he was from a prominent family. He was not good for the city of Globe, and I stood up to that, and he was not hired. So when I look at things, as I said, what's going on, what's in the best interest of the city and for our constituents, because they pay our taxes. They pay for everybody here.
Mike?
Mr. Mayor, Carmen, welcome.
Thank you.
It's good to see you again.
Thank you.
Got several here I'm looking at. City Council must render decisions regarding the implementation of policies and programs that may be somewhat difficult. Are you willing to take on the responsibility of making decisions that are in the best interest of the public, even though they may be somewhat difficult?
Absolutely. That's why I lost the election last time. Because I did stand up because I believed that that was the right thing to do. And so I am not afraid to voice my opinion because, once again, it's not because I would not just vote the way people wanted me to vote so I could stay in that seat. Again, it's because it's going to be what's in the best interest of the city and the best interest of our citizens here. And so, yes, there are difficult votes, but I'm willing to stand up and stand up tall to do the right thing, whether I lose again or not.
Thank you.
And last, Carmen, do you have any questions for us? Any questions? We'll give you the opportunity to.
I do not, for once, I do not have any questions. And again, it's because I see and I hear what has been going on with this council. And I love Tracy to death, but I still feel very humbled, but you need to select who's going to be the best fit for that seat. I believe it's me, but it's going to be up to each one of you to make sure that my district, District 5, is going to be represented and represented to the fullest extent. because I live there. So thank you very much. And if I may, just really quickly, am I finished with my interview?
Yeah.
Because I don't want to say anything. I need to commend Vice Mayor and Mayor for all their help. And I don't think I ever had that opportunity when the Rawlings children passed, and all the food that you donated for our law enforcement. I still get all the food that you donated for the law enforcement, and our mayor, who actually went out many times on the search and working with the thousands of volunteers and law enforcement from all over. So this is why, because I was passionate, and even though they weren't from the city, they were in Gila County, and they're our neighbors. And I still get very emotional, but I needed to thank you personally for all that you've done. So thank you.
Carmen.
Do I stay or go?
Thank you, Carmen.
Go ahead and sit. Join the audience.
Oh.
You get to hear everything now.
Yeah.
That's a nice thing of being first,
Right?
you know?
Yes.
Matt, we'll give you the opportunity to give a 3-minute opening statement, and then we'll ask you a series of 6 questions.
Sounds good. I don't know if I have full 3 minutes. My name is Matthew Storms. I moved to Globe in 2014. I have a business downtown, an insurance office. I'm newly married. My wife moved here in 2017. I have a daughter who is 6 who lives with me part-time. I've been on several boards since I've been here, the Youth Club, Globe Rotary, Miami Rotary, Hospital Board, Foundation Board, foster care. I've worked with the county, and several other things here and there. I love living in Globe. I had a few different offers when I came up here. This was the first town I visited. I never went to the other 2, so I fell in love with it when I moved up here. We bought a house here in 2019 and have loved living up here every minute.
Thank you, Matt. We're going to start with Fernando.
Matt, what is your vision for Globe's future?
My vision for Globe's future is that it continues to grow, and more amenities and quality of living continues to improve for the residents. I think there's a lot of opportunity for us. We are centrally located in this part of the state, and I think there are challenges that we have to face, but I think there's a lot more opportunity out there, and I see a positive future for Globe.
Ready?
Thank you, Mayor. Matt, thank you for your interest. My question is, to date, what do you think is the most beneficial achievement of this present council, and what could this council do better?
That one for a second. So there's one tonight that I was really happy to see was the moving forward of the development over by the community center. I think that's what the Globe needs. We need more homes. We need development. We need new facilities and amenities for the community. I think what you guys stepped up and did with the COVID funding for the small business owners was amazing. I know I've spoken to many of them that, that bridged the gap for a lot of them and allowed them to stay open. As far as something the council can improve, I think the biggest thing is just more dialogue with the community. Because I had to leave unfortunately at 5, but I sat through half your strategic planning meeting that you had last week, and like Councilman Leatham said, you guys accomplished a lot, but I don't think anybody knows about it, which is is wrong. I mean, they should know. Obviously, there's things you can't communicate because there's things that are still being worked on, but for between COVID and, you know, council member changes and elections and everything, you guys got a lot done. So.
Good, thank you.
Matt, with this being a temporary appointment, briefly explain your specialized skills, knowledge, or professional experiences that would contribute to your effectiveness while serving with this council to help them carry out their strategic initiatives.
Like I said, I did move here in 2014. Since then, I've been involved really from day one with different organizations. I haven't stuck to just one. I've been involved in several events in the area, several boards. I know a lot of the business owners on a personal basis. I know a lot of the community leaders on a personal basis. I think my expertise is also someone that is newer to the area, so I don't know so much of the past. I just know this is the goal we're needing to move forward to. We don't need to worry about where we were or what we were doing. This is the current direction and where we need to go.
Thank you. Mike?
Matt, what are your intentions if you get appointed to council? If you do get appointed, do you plan on running in the next?
I do. If I were to be appointed, I would run at the next election cycle, which would be 2022. My intentions when I get elected, I think is what you're looking for. I would like to learn more of what the city's mission and goal and strategic plan is. I don't want to come in and be like a wrench and slow things down or mess things up. So I'd like to kind of learn where everyone's headed and what we're doing, and just be as much of an asset as I can with that direction.
Jesse?
Thank you. Matt, why would it be important to you to question the status quo?
I think it's always a good thing to question the status quo. I think sometimes when you're moving towards a goal, you can get caught up so much on moving forward that you forget, or you miss an opportunity to pivot or change things up. I think it's always good to look at all your options, not just the first one that comes to you or the easiest one that comes up.
Matt, this is similar to the question Jesse just asked you. City Council must render decisions regarding the implementation of policies and programs that may be somewhat difficult. Are you willing to take on the responsibility of making decisions that are in the best interest of the public, even though they may be somewhat difficult?
I would say yes.
Explain that a little bit more.
I believe as council members and as the mayor, we're fed the most information on situations. I think especially nowadays, people get maybe just a bit of information and they don't really understand the whole picture. Our job as council is to understand the whole picture and make decisions based on that information. And what might seem to some as the wrong decision or the wrong direction, sometimes it's just they don't have the whole picture.
Matt, last, do you have any questions for any of us, council?
I don't. Thank you.
Thank you, Matt. Mariano, we're going to start with giving the opportunity to do a 3-minute opening statement, and then we'll ask you a series of questions out here.
Okay, my name is Mariano Gonzalez Jr. I'm a resident of Ward 5. I do live at Globe Mobile Home Park. I've been there over 2 years now. After my wife passed away, I downsized and rented a nice 2-bedroom, 1.5 bath, double wide home. And I don't have to mow the lawn, and I don't have to water plants. I have a really good landlord. Just pick up the phone and call him when something is wrong. And so being fully retired, I have a lot of really constructive time on my hands. I served 26 years in government, 16 years at Gila County Emergency Management, went through the ranks of that small office, ended up as a director of emergency operations. That was over a 16-year career, and saw a lot of, as Al knows, fire and floods and snowstorms and hazmat and a lot of other large-scale operations in Gila County, and working for the county on the care of our citizens. Wrote plans, was on the local emergency planning committee. After I achieved director of emergency operations, I left. I challenged myself and took a job as the state's emergency response and recovery plan coordinator at the Department of Emergency and Military Affairs. I was in charge of writing the state's emergency plan, not by myself, but with my associates at all the state and local agencies, the counties, the National Guard, and the 95 cities and towns in Arizona. That was a very challenging part of my career. Thoroughly enjoyed it, met a lot of colleagues across the state, and did a lot of emergency planning and analysis of all of the cities and towns of Arizona. Throughout that career, I had the opportunity to write grants, maintain budgets, and also work with my fellow emergency managers at the county level. Worked with several elected officials throughout those crises that we had in Arizona. I was very lucky to travel around the state and get to know many parts of the state, and also the capability of local government in the ability to respond to and recover from disasters in Arizona. There are centers of gravity throughout the state. One here is Globe, the other one is Payson. I don't have to explain that world to you, but it's pretty much like that across the state. The gravity, everyone gravitates toward the center of government in each county or region. And that's what I depended on when I was working for the state and the county. Who are the go-to agencies that we can deal with in helping the people to recover from disasters, and to write plans that are effective and to exercise them so that we knew what capability and what the limits, the capabilities are of people and agencies across the state. Working with elected officials was really a highlight of my career, working with the Board of Supervisors, but with also the state government representatives and the federal delegation, and especially with FEMA. Was on several committees, the Local Emergency Planning Committee I mentioned. I was also assisting with FEMA when they would come into a region and help them to get to know the lay of the land. So it's a very interesting career. I got to know how government operates before, during, and after a disaster. And when you work at county, you get to be tasked to many other subject matter areas. So you learn a lot about especially small county operations and how they get things done. Very interesting career. Any questions from the council?
We're going to move on with questions to you, and then we'll give you that opportunity on there. So, Fernando, you have the first question.
Mariano, what's your vision for Globe's future?
Actually, I said it the other day at your strategic plan meeting. I do see this region right on the cusp of an explosion of growth. That's based on a career of watching government in the area grow here, surviving, adapting. And I said this the other day, I see this as Prescott, Arizona before the explosion occurred. We are in the very beginning of what Prescott had to go through in its explosion of growth. There's another city up there called south of Prescott, Prescott Valley. And I surmise that some people left that town and started their own town because they weren't satisfied with the government up there. That's my take on that. We are working together in many different aspects here in this region to get things done. Some things aren't going to be done as fast as others because we are saddled with what I consider a very slow legislature. And I think that some projects that this region is trying to promote at that level may not succeed. But in the meantime, this region needs leaders. And one of the leaders is the city of Globe. As a long career in emergency management, I've always turned to this city when it comes to planning and acting as the leader for the entire region when it came to the subject of emergency response and emergency recovery. In the planning side, you have to have someone who's going to be that go-to agency or go-to government that's going to lead. And I'm not downgrading the county because I worked for the county for 16 years, but there are services they did that under the statutes they do not provide. That's up to local government. So we're at the cusp of something new in the region as far as growth is concerned. We've learned to attract tourism to the region, and I start now to see that results. I'm a musician. I play over at the winery twice a month. We have people coming here and staying in the hotels because they hear Globe is a wonderful place and off the beaten path, even though it's on US 60. They come now. The challenge is to keep more coming and to be a self-regenerating economy, like a Mesa, like a Prescott, like a Flagstaff. And that's the challenge that I see in the next 10 years to continue and ascend this region. It's starting, and it's kind of scary. I'm going to miss the old days real quick around here. That's all I have, Fernando.
Ready? Thank you, Mayor. Mariano, thank you for your interest. My question is, to date, what do you think is the most beneficial achievement of this present council, and what could this council do better?
Your challenge with recreation for your constituency. I saw that in a meeting 2 weeks ago. And no offense to the committee that's trying to put in a regional aquatic center. And I think I told this to Mike at the end of that meeting. As long as we have a certain party at the legislature, I don't see that effort coming to fruition in the next 2 years or the next 5 years. And no offense to those people. The city has to go its own way. And if that way is to put back or renovate or remodel, whatever you want to call it, the pool that exists now, that's a good thing. People might complain about it, but at least it's there. And once again, the city is showing some direction, some creativity in providing the services that they have either provided or they haven't provided in the past. That's just one of many different facets that are occurring right now. So leadership, going your own way. I've always said that if an entity has its own tax levying authority, they get to call their own shot. They do not have to cooperate with the rest of the world. If they need to get something done, they can go do it. There are other bodies in this region that wonder about that question. Should we all plan together or should we go our own way? My point to you is go your own way. Find your strength in servicing your constituency. And if it happens to anger a few, or if it happens to be ahead of the curve, do it. Because you're the only leader. This region has agencies that exist, and there's nothing else in a 50 square mile area. You can go 80 square mile area. There's nothing there except us. So the challenge is to be the leader and move forward and pull people along with you.
Thank you.
Wait, there's a second part to that question, which is, what do you think the council could do better? I'm not sure you caught that.
I think you're doing all the right things. 2 years ago, I'm president at the William Plaza Cultural Center and Museum. 2 years ago, we devised a strategic plan. And 2 years later, we're adjusting that plan. And it has changed dramatically. COVID-19, of course, all you have to say is that phrase. We had no income for 12 months. What can you do to be better? I think that everything you're doing to make this economy grow without, don't tell the mines this, without the mines on your own is what you need to continue as to make this community go into what I call a self-generating community. Okay? Prescott is a primary example. They've got a huge college up there. Attached to it is Embry-Riddle University. They have all these things that are self-generating now. It is a perpetual motion machine for their economy. You're headed that way. Keep it going. Keep it moving. Grab this and add it to the recipe. Whatever those things are into the future. And don't be afraid to try. Don't be afraid to try. And use those other cities as your examples. So you're doing good things. What else can you do? Just try to get to an area or point in time where the community, the region, is self-generating in its economy. That's all I got.
Mariano, you've answered a lot of my question, but I'm gonna, if you can add to it. With this being a temporary appointment, briefly explain your specialized skills, knowledge, or professional experiences that would contribute to your effectiveness while serving with this council to help them carry out their strategic initiatives.
I've been lucky and blessed to have a really good career in emergency management, but it lent itself to so many other facets. I've had to write budgets for 5 sections of a division at Gila County. I've had to write grants and baseball them together during and after a major disaster so that we could get help faster to a community or communities and deal with the grant and the rules of the grant or more than one grant in order to bring services into the area. So I've had to read budgets. I've had to analyze those budgets. They tell me a lot about the emergency response capability of an entity, but also what kind of services are being provided. They also tell me what they're doing for the next 12 months. Can't hide that secret. You have to tell the public what you're going to do. And when you look for the footnotes in those budgets, you learn a bigger picture. So analysis is something I had to do during the course of my career at county level and state level. All I need is a good review of a budget, and I can tell you a lot what's going to happen through the departments for the year and how they're going to be limited or lucky sometimes to have funding that they get to do things and provide services with. So analysis is one of them. Working with council. I've had to work with many different councils across the state on various emergency management subjects, even putting them through the paces of surviving a disaster and working with them on it. Working with the congressional delegations when they come to town and we need to have them tour the area. My job sometimes would be to educate that representative. Here's this section of town where they receive the most damage and do this description to them. And always, without bragging, the delegation would thank us for giving them that tour. So working with the public, that's the last item, which is the most important. How do you educate them? Well, you be honest with them, what you can deliver, what you cannot deliver. And then the last point is to never walk away from them so that they know that their government doesn't forsake them. That's a rule of emergency management. However long it takes to recover, 1 day or 3 years, you're there to answer their questions, and I'll always be available to communicate with them. That's all I have.
Thank you. Mike?
Thank you, Mayor. Adriano, thank you for your time. What are your intentions if you get appointed to council? And if appointed, you plan on to run in the next?
I don't know if I want to run 2 years from now. I stepped up because I felt there was a need. It was a vacuum. That shouldn't happen in government, but it does every now and then. And if you're lucky and have the time and are compelled to serve the public, and like I did for 26 years, here's another opportunity to do that and fill that vacuum. And I've said it at least twice. So there's been at least 6 to 8 council level decisions that have been made in the last month since Ward 5 lost their representation. And I think that's a sad thing. The people of Ward 5 had no voice during these last few meetings, and I'm not downgrading the council. I'm saying no voice. It needs to be filled. I wish to fill that void. I don't know if I'm going to run for office in 2 years, but to the best of my ability, I'm called or compelled to apply to serve the community again. I have the low points in my life were when I was working on the Planning and Zoning Commission here. They were putting in that apartment complex behind Wendy's. And I was called everything in the book regarding that particular recommendation because the residents were not happy. I know the downside of being on a council or a commission. But in spite of that, you get the chance to serve and educate and help. And in this particular case, that's what I see. I don't know if I'll run in 2 years, and I won't say I won't run. I know I have many interests in the community. Blaine Plaza is one of them. My parents are 90 and 93, and I'm taking care of them a lot these days. The point is, I won't predict that future. Maybe closer to that mark, I'll reevaluate. So in the meantime, if I'm appointed, it's time to step up again and serve our public. That's all I have, sir.
Jesse?
Thank you, Mayor. Mariano, why would it be important to you to question the status quo?
Say that again.
Why would it be important to you to question the status quo?
That's an interesting question. There never really is a status quo. There's change. And how you manage that change, given the authority and the consensus of a deliberative body, I see the council's job is to not only protect what we have, which is what I call the status quo, but to advance the community, which is scary. You tell me you're going to put me a sidewalk here that I don't really want. How do you come to work on that? Protect my property. I don't want it burning. I don't want it flooding. I want the sewer to work. Those are status quo questions that you wrestle with every meeting. And then you make a decision. You hand it off to your city manager. And poor Paul, he's got to deal with it. But the point is, you have today, you have services, and the swimming pool is one of them. You have services. You have to look at them. You have to balance what you have and decide if it's worth changing that status quo, in spite of maybe poor opinion, bad opinion, but you see the end of it. Well, the kids get to play in the pool. The status quo is always shifting, just like a fire. It's always running around. But in the end, at the end of your meeting, did you do the right thing to protect what we have, but also go into the future? So no, I don't believe in the status quo. I get as mad as anybody else when a pipe breaks in my home. I know who to call, though, and get to some semblance of calming, getting it fixed. So no, I don't believe in the status quo forever. You have to be pragmatic. You have to approach your future, and you have to look years down the road. I didn't know any of this when I was going to ASU. Had no clue. And I didn't have any clue that I would end up with a really nice pension after a long career in emergency management. No clue. But I do know that when you're working in a job and you can see into its future, you work towards that future. So status quo is important, but the future is even more important in dealing with it.
Mike?
This is similar to the question that Jesse just asked Mariano. City Council must render decisions regarding the implementation of policies and programs. It may be somewhat difficult. Are you willing to take on the responsibility of making decisions that are in the best interest of the public, even though they may be somewhat difficult?
Like I said, I've had a long career in emergency management, and some of the most pressure-packed decisions have been there. Sometimes it's not whether or not to call out the National Guard. Sometimes it's whether or not to sue FEMA to get their butts here. And once you've been through that, you realize that you will do everything you have to improve the situation for your citizens and for your constituency in this case. I don't like those bad moments at all, but I've faced them. on behalf of the citizens of this county and sometimes for this state. And I would do them again in a heartbeat and make those decisions. You have to follow the charge you've been given. What's best for the city? It may not be good for the people of Broad Street, but it might be good for the people of Euclid Avenue. You have to balance that. And if you have enough wisdom and experience, you try to take the road that benefits everybody. The best politicians I ever saw took those roads, and they were very quiet, and yet they made the powerful decisions, but nobody ever knew that. I knew that because I had to ask that once several times of politicians. And so I've seen the example, and I know what that looks like. Yeah, I would do that in a heartbeat.
Mariano, finally, we'll give you the opportunity if you have any questions for us at this time.
The strategic planning meeting the other day was a good meeting. I had to leave early, but you don't have to answer this question, but when you were done with it, just ask yourselves, we did enough to carry us to the next year or the next 5 years. If you're happy with that, I just ask you to remember what you said that day, and you will have to review it again next year. So that's the only comment I have for y'all.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Sit in the
Thank you,
audience.
Council.
Here you go, up here.
Eric, thank you for participating. We're going to start with allowing you to give us a 3-minute opening statement.
I don't think I'll need all 3 minutes, but I'll go ahead and give it a shot. Good evening. My name is Eric Mariscal, and I am a lifelong resident of Globe, Arizona. And apart from 4 years in the United States Army and 4 years attending Northern Arizona University, I've spent all my entire life here in Globe and, as a matter of fact, in District 5. So that's pretty much about me. Currently, I work for the Gila County Elections Department. I've been there as the elections director since 2013 and with the Gila County government since 2007. So apart from that, I think that's pretty much sufficient unless you have some kind of question you might want to know about my life here in Globe. But apart from that, that's pretty much it. Real brief and to the point.
Thank you, Eric. Yeah, we're going to start on this side and we'll have a series of questions to ask you. We're going to start with Fernando.
Eric, what's your vision for Globe's future?
Well, Globe is a community that has the potential to be kind of like a suburb of the greater Phoenix area. The growth is continually moving eastward and westward, expanding. So Globe has that unique opportunity to serve kind of like a suburban type area where we can see people coming into the area, commuting into the valley. The light rail, as you guys know, in the East Valley is continually moving and moving and moving towards this area, with Resolution Mine possibly coming online in the future. And the demographic shift, people deciding to move to smaller communities. That's an attraction, and it's a key feature that Globe could be able to seize upon and have a bright future in that regard.
Ready?
Thank you, Mayor. Eric, first of all, thank you for your interest. My question is, to date, what do you think is the most beneficial achievement of this present council, and what could this council do better?
Well, I think this council has probably a unique point in the history of Globe City Councils, with the fact that you were struck with a very different type of event that called for some very careful management, and that is, of course, COVID-19, the coronavirus. A lot of communities have had different reactions to it and different outcomes to it. City of Globe has been very even-keeled, very even-tempered, very forthwith in their approach to it, been very proactive in letting the community know what's going on, what's happening. I think that is probably a hallmark of your guys' tenure, as that you had a very difficult situation, and you seem to have weathered it very well. I mean, out there in the community, you don't hear people, saying things of a negative nature. There have been some instances where, as of course you guys know, that the block grants you receive for COVID in the various communities, businesses and so forth, but there's always going to be grumbling in some area in regard, especially when it comes to money and the piece of the pie, how it gets appropriated to the various people and so forth. But it's a unique situation that you had to deal with, and it's been dealt with very well, very professionally, and the community, I think, has been the recipient of the outlook that you guys have taken and the measures that you have instituted. And so I think that's probably your hallmark, that you can say, hey, I was a councilman during the pandemic and we got our community through it.
Again, a follow-up. Is there something that you think this council could do better in?
As a former council member, and just as an employee of government, there are always things that we can do better. There are always things that can be explained more, in depth and more detail, more communication, more information can always be forthcoming and so forth. I know that there was some various ruffled feathers when it came to the distribution of the COVID funding and so forth, but it's a learning experience. It's a hard curve that you guys had to come up and deal with. It's not an everyday occurrence. It's not very likely and very common for governmental agencies, especially small jurisdictions, to be given huge sums of money to say, here you are, and go with it. What do you do? How do you, spend it in the areas where it's going to make the most difference? There was some talk about, well, we gave money to the police department or we gave money to the fire department and it should have gone here and it should have gone there. Those are all good, quarterbacking on the sidelines and stuff like that. But like I said, in reference to the pandemic, those are your first line people. Those are your first line responders. It's important that they had that equipment needed to do their jobs professionally and safely. So, that was maybe something that could have been explained, maybe a little bit better, a little bit more communication as to why you were going that direction. It wasn't just maybe a pet project or anything like that. And especially at a time when, police agencies around the country are getting hammered for, defund them and so forth, that type of commentary. But, that's just one of those things that very, like I said, slight, but it's a hard learning curve that a lot of jurisdictions had to deal with during this time period.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Eric, with this being a temporary appointment, briefly explain your specialized skills, knowledge, or professional experiences that would contribute to your effectiveness while serving with this council to help them carry out their strategic initiatives.
Well, as a former council member from 2012 to 2016, I have, the pretty much up on the open meeting laws, that sort of things. I also know that there are, the enterprise funds that we have in the City of Globe, the infrastructure needs that we have, what their future entails, which ties back into strategic planning and the vision of growth for the City of Globe. All of those things are intertwined and also very important. So, that type of knowledge of those enterprise funds, where we're at. I don't know, haven't been keeping up too closely, simply because I haven't had to deal with any of my water lines breaking or anything like that. I haven't seen flooding waters on 60 like there used to be in the past, but when that was addressed with the water line, the 8-inch that was put in on the line down there. So you don't hear about those things. You don't see about those things, However, you do hear about like the bridge infrastructures that we have. When I was leaving, there was those reports that were put out that, and you all are aware of it, that our bridges in this community are in some serious, detriment, need of being repaired. There's work planned and programmed going into the one down by Connie's, but you all know that there are numerous bridges in this community, and you know that they are all in need of repair and that sort of and maintenance. So my knowledge about those ideas, and when I did run for city council and I was elected the first time, I kind of had a certain naivete about how government should get on the ball and fix those things. I understand now that there are certain protocols, there are certain, it's just not something we can just do at the snap of our fingers. There are long-range planning, there are things that have to be, recognized, that where are we going to get the most bang for the buck. Globe is a small jurisdiction, a small community. We don't have the huge tax base that you're going to find in a larger area. So planning and vision and putting those funds where they're going to do the most good is key and paramount to one of the things that council and mayor of course, need to focus on and deal with. They have that long-range fiduciary responsibility to the community that the tax dollars that they have to work with are going to be spent in the most beneficial way for the entire community, and not just for certain projects that might make us look nice and shiny, but things that are going to make us look, overall an attractive package to somebody wanting to come into this community.
Thank you, Eric.
Thank you, Eric. Good evening, Eric.
Hey, Mike. Nice to see you.
My question is, what are your intentions and running in the
Well, as with anyone, I think that probably all of us that have come up here today, we all have an interest to make sure that the citizens of District 5 are represented, that they are, listened to, that their concerns are brought to the floor here so that they can be addressed, what they feel their needs are in the community. And it's pretty evident, everybody just wants their streets to be nice and, clean. They just want their water when they turn on the tap to be able to flow. They want their toilets to be able to flush. They don't want to hear about issues that, that should be taken care of. That's kind of like the oversight to make sure that we have that good infrastructure, that the people in the community can live here and decently live here. And that, in turn, focusing on that brings us back to like the strategic planning of where's Globe going to be at? Where's Globe going to be? Of course, we all know that the copper mines are something that are, they're finite. Copper prices right now being what they are, over $4 a pound, that's because of the COVID, because of the lack of the supply chain and all that sort of stuff, but that stuff is going to come back down. This community has experienced peaks and troughs in our economics. When other parts of the country are doing poorly, we do well. When some other parts are doing bad, then, it's kind of up and down here for us. We have kind of a unique economic engine that drives this area. But it's one that, once again, it is finite. So we have to kind of look to something that's going to bring us back to a place where we can have people coming and wanting to live here. And that's one of the things that we have to do. So get that community input, find out what it is that they need, what's going to make them happy, and what's going to make other people coming into the community happy in the same vein. As far as my plans for the future, I probably would like to run again. I told my wife once upon a time when I ran for the city council the first time that I was going to serve my first term as the city councilman, and then I would go ahead and run for mayor the next cycle. And then after I ran for mayor, and if I had won that one, then I would continue going on. When the first time I failed was when the time I would retire and just attend to all the needs around the house and so forth, honey-do lists. But the next election cycle, when I first ran, I was allowed to run for office because cities and towns held their elections in March and May. But in 2014, state legislature determined that all candidate elections would be held on the same election cycle, being in the August primary or September primary at that time, and the November general for the runoff if need be. I couldn't abandon my post at the county as the elections director because our primaries are our most technical elections that we have and require hands-on with everybody in our small department. But things change, and of course I've spent a number of years now with the county, and I'm getting close to my 80 points. And my 80 points will arrive before the end of this term. So my retirement future might see me actually being able to continue on in this vein as a candidate, future candidate for office.
Yes, we.
Thank you, Mayor. Eric, why would it be important to you to question the status quo?
What's that?
Why would it be important to you to question the status quo?
Well, that is a death knell, the status quo for a lot of institutions. We've a long time in this community, we're infamous for, especially when we have new people coming in, especially at county government, or just new individuals coming into town, they'll make a comment. And a lot of the times, the old timers here in the community, people that were born here, raised here, and going to die here, hopefully on their front porch from a heart attack and not have anything else to worry about, we often say, well, that's the way we've always done it. Okay, and that's the standard fallback to a lot of institutions, to a lot of communities, is that's the way we do it. You don't understand. We have our own little niche, the way we do things, and so we're sometimes seen as retrograded in our activities. But from experience, my time working with county governments and working with other jurisdictions and other governmental entities throughout my time here in Gila County and in Globe, and my various things that I've attended, trainings, conferences, seminars, and stuff like that. It's just that if you continue to do something same way, if you just keep going the way you're going, you're not going to get anywhere. You're going to stay exactly right where you are. And unless you're living in a paradise, that's fine. But if you're not living in paradise and there are things that need to be done, there are things that need to be changed, and there are people that need to be, hey, we're going to address that. We're going to take care of that. Not just, well, we'll look into it. We'll get back to you and that sort of thing. And that's one of the reasons that most people are turned off of government. That's why most people don't want to enter into the arena of being a council person or a supervisor or something of that nature. Because you go in, and if you want to maintain that status quo, if you just want to keep everything even, you don't want to rock the boat, nothing's ever going to get done. Change isn't going to happen, and change for the better. And in some communities 20, 30 years ago, especially in the mining towns of Arizona, Bisbee is an example for one, they were very far reaching in their plans. They're proactive. Jerome and those other communities, they saw something that, hey, we're not always going to be a copper boom town. Something else is going to come along that's going to knock us off the radar, and we're going to be struggling, right? So they were proactive. They broke that status quo. They went for something else. They said something different. They started thinking, hey, let's turn our place into an art community. We have all these old buildings. We have this fantastic architecture. We can market that. We can do something that. We can bring people in. And sure enough, what do? People do go to Bisbee for the architecture and for that little unique niche. Jerome, same thing, with the mining town turned into the artistic community. People go there. They flock there. So if you stay where you're at, where you're comfortable, like a lot of people want to do, that's going to be a problem, okay? But at the same time, you have to measure that and meter that out with, there are some people that they have valid questions that they want to address also at the same time. For instance, yeah, it would be great for Globe to grow, be good for Globe to grow. But once again, tying it back in the strategic plan and the various things that we need to do, have to have that infrastructure there. We have to look at some of the things that we maybe we're not looking at. For instance, what's our 100-year our water plant? How are our wells doing? What's the recharge and all that sort of stuff? So there are a lot of things that go into it, but if you just stay with where you're at right now, you're going to be hard pressed to come up with some solutions that you're going to be needing in the future.
Mike?
Very good to see you again.
Thank you, not Supervisor Pastor, but Councilman Pastor.
Yeah, thank you. My question kind of tags right on to what Jesse just asked you. City Council must render decisions regarding the implementation of policies and programs that may be somewhat difficult. Are you willing to take on the responsibility of making decisions that are in the best interest of the public, even though they may be somewhat difficult?
Yes, well, and I have in the past. The one issue that comes to mind forefront with me, and one that's still plaguing you to this day right now, and especially right now, as the thermometer starts creeping up into that 100-degree zone, the swimming pool. Okay, that was a hard call. That was a hard choice. We could have gone along, rolled the dice, and said, "Oh, it'll work for one more season. We can get it through one more thing, one more swimming season." But the problem is, you had people potentially with their lives at risk, and that decision made me very aware, very highly cognizant of that. Some of the decisions that you have to make as a council are life-threatening. They could be life-ending. Okay, so if we let that swimming pool go, and that was to collapse, and people were to die for that, it would have been incredibly horrific, okay? But at the other end, there are a lot of people that went and they looked and said, oh, well, it doesn't look that bad. Just, paint this here, put some cement here, reinforce this beam here, and everything will be fine. It'll be okay. But that's not the information that we have. That's not what staff was recommending. That's another thing you have to fall back on. You have to fall back on what staff recommends. They're the professionals. They have certain skill sets and certain areas of knowledge that you might not probably have, that you might not have. So you rely upon what they do, and then you have to take that information, you have to sift it, and you have to come up with that decision that may not be popular. And it was not popular at the time. There were a lot of people that said, oh, well, you forget about coming back because, we need this and that and the other. So yeah, sometimes you have to make the choices that aren't popular, that aren't fun. It's not all cutting the ribbons at ceremonies and getting that free luncheon or something like that that's put on. Sometimes you're going to have to make decisions that aren't going to be popular. You're going to have to make decisions that are going to upset people. They're going to affect their lives. It's going to affect their livelihoods. And you guys, with your pandemic responses that you've had to do, that's curtailed some businesses. Those are hard decisions to make. But in the long run, you have to do the cost, analysis. Is it worth it? Is it going to provide meaningful, relief to somebody? is it going to hurt them? But if we have to hurt this one, is it going to be beneficial all the way around? Nobody likes wearing masks. Nobody wants to wear masks. But right now, because of what the situation is, we're wearing masks. We're doing things that we don't want to, but that we necessarily, wouldn't do if we had the choice. But in the long run, we'll do them because it's what's needed. It's what's necessary. So I hope that answers your question.
Thank you, Eric. And last, do you have any questions for the council at all?
No, none at all.
Have a seat in the. Any comments from any of council or at this point? Go ahead, Fernando.
I just like to say that this is not going to be an easy decision, but I think that all of our candidates are excellent, and regardless of who gets it, I think they would do an excellent job. So we're very fortunate to have you come out.
Ditto.
So, Mr. Mayor, members of council, so if you would like to take your card and put your paper ballot, put your vote down, put it in the envelope, and when you're ready, pass them towards Shelley, and she'll.
We just take our time to look over what we've just witnessed, and I know I'm honored to see these candidates come forward to want to be part of this council. I mean, that is amazing. When the late Mike Humphrey passed too, also the same thing. We saw the same response, and it's really honorable to want people to get involved with our community and be part of the decision making for now and for the future. So thank you very much, all of you.
Let's
No.
pass them. Yeah, just pass them down, she says. How many do you
No, we
have?
still got some more.
You need one more?
Play the Jeopardy song.
No, yeah.
Two more.
You got it.
His invite. You guys can make it. So, she's pretty excited. That's good.
Interest.
Mr. Mayor and Council, I have a 3.
So we do have, this would trigger the runoff because we do have, the two highest vote getters are.
Wallace, Matt Storms.
So, Mr. Mayor, members of council, in the runoff, you pick from the two highest vote getters. So you want to grab another card and another envelope and, between Matt and Mariano.
Can't just put an in.
Difficult, just being difficult. Don't get them confused with the first group. Oh, there they are, okay. Yeah.
Actually, this is
Might prove why you need it.
Yeah, but we can't. That thing, you can't.
Mr. Mayor and Council, I do have a majority vote for Mr. Mariano Gonzalez.
So,
Before you go any further, I'd like to say something. We had our own conversation while we were in the conference room, and I'd like to offer cooperation and extend a hand of friendship to everyone who were up for this position tonight. So Carmen, Matt, and Eric, please let me give you my phone number so I can stay in contact with you. Because this is a very unusual situation, it's very important that we stick together in communicating with the residents of Ward 5. And whatever you all bring to me, let's bring it to council. Thank you.
Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Again, our sincerest thanks to all the candidates. We really appreciate.
By the way, I like that a lot better than the last one.
yes.
Yeah.
That was awesome.
We need to adopt that.
It worked a lot better. So now, just to finalize this, we need a formal motion, a second, and then a motion to adopt, to appoint, a second, and then a vote of council to legalize this
Mayor, I would make a motion that we
point.
appoint Mariano Gonzalez to the District 5 seat that is available.
second.
We have a motion, a second for appointment of Mariano Gonzalez to District 5 seat. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay? Any abstaining? Motion passed. Thank you again very much.
Thank you, everybody. Appreciate it.
And Mr. Mayor, one final comment. I think this should be this whole meeting process tonight should carry on from every meeting now so we can get out by
Yeah.
8:30 instead of 10:30.
That ain't gonna happen.
We still have these sessions.
Oh, we still have something to do?
The little one.
Oh, okay.
That's what we hear a lot.
Yeah.
got too excited.
The little one.
So you get no food is what he's saying.
Yeah.
Shouldn't lie to us, Paul.
So we'll move on to late agenda items, and we move that up to presentation already.
Right.
Do we have any call to the public on phone or email?
Mr. Mayor, no.
Scheduling the meetings,
Nothing new right now.
future agenda items?
I would like to say that, ask council if you would like us to formalize this process and put this into either a council policy or a actual city code. We can take what we've learned here and what we've proven here that works and make that our method.
Ready?
Yeah, I think it's a great idea. You know, this has been a request of mine for quite some time now, and I truly agree with Councilman Shipley that this ran a lot smoother than the previous one. It seemed wasn't so clunky. It was very straightforward and very transparent. So I agree that we should carry this forward some version of it. But I also want to be careful about encumbering other council in the future.
Yeah.
So
And we can have that discussion, whether it's a council policy, whether it's a code. And so we can bring it up in a neutral format, whether it's policy, code, and then at that time decide which way and get the pros and cons as how you want to do this. So, and I can also share with you what other cities have done in the way of policy versus code. But we'll definitely bring it back.
agreed. Thank you.
Okay. And Mr. Mayor, members of council, the other, at some point, I know that we'll be looking to bring back review of your mask ordinance, which is no longer functioning because of the governor's orders. But I think we're going to leave that in place. The city, the COVID team recommended that you leave that in place just because I think this council still believes in that for now, and that we don't want to send mixed messages. And so we're going to, in the future, when I think the majority of the stores and consumers and start asking people allowing people without masks. And so we will bring that back, but not until I think we've seen some different changes with retailers. And so I think it's symbolic, but it's your ordinance you put in place. I think you should bring that, remove that when you feel the time is right. And so we will keep watch on that. And I think that's the only other future agenda items that I wanted to talk about.
Anybody else have any other?
Only thing I'd like to bring up is we were supposed to, in March, true up the city manager's contract, and we have not done that.
Right, and
I thought it was May, wasn't it?
May, yeah.
Yeah, 6 months.
So,
Right.
make sure that gets on the agenda then.
Any other? Do we have a motion to go into executive session?
Motion made.
Got a motion second to go into e-session. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Nay?
Nay.
Thank you, everybody, for attending.